Well, good morning again. Another episode of Yes Way Jose. And I actually have to sometimes bring in like relief or like I don't know, kind of a substitute guest.
That's me? I'm a substitute?
Yeah, you're just a substitute
I'm here
guest.
every time.
Well, you're not on the you're the producer of it, Trav.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anybody, if you don't know who Travis is, he's the guy that puts all this together with his brother, Eli, who is actually babysitting his kids. And so we have this episode today. And, you know, I thought, everyone, it's a promotion.
Yeah.
No more pay.
Yeah, no more pay. Yeah.
No,
It's
just
unpaid promotion.
Unpaid
Yeah,
promotion.
yeah.
So congratulations on your promotion.
I'm used to that. I work in a factory. They don't give you promotions when you get a better job, no promotion.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. It's another episode of Yes Way Jose. And this one, you know, we've done this a couple of different times. And, you know, I think part of it, I'm just, you know, I see stuff all the time. And I get a little pent up. And then I want to take an episode and
Grinds your gears.
yeah. And so I want to bring it up. So this episode is actually called Truth versus Keyboard Warriors. And, you know, for all those people, have you ever gone to the Institution of Keyboard Warriors class?
No, I have been to the place where they work, though, and that's Facebook, mostly.
Oh, it
seems
and
like
if it's on Facebook,
yeah, it's got to be true.
Yeah, so yeah,
They might be on X, it's, you know, formerly known as Twitter too, but I don't get on there as much.
What are the people that with TikTok? Are they going to be okay? Or we
I don't know. I don't get it. My wife was having withdrawals within the first,
Really?
I think so. Yeah.
We got to find help for everybody. Hey, listen, we understand social media. Good morning to everybody. First of all, we have an email address.
Yeah, it's yeswayjosemail@gmail.com.
He nailed it. But I do think people need to understand this episode is about just really getting people to understand the truth. And I will tell people this. I'm going to start out with saying, if you have ideas and you have concerns, I work at 634 Conestoga Parkway.
Yeah, right across from Walmart.
Right across from Walmart. I would be more than glad. My door is always open. I want people who want to bring me ideas.
Right.
The problems, I probably know a lot of them already. So rehashing those on a social media doesn't help solve the problem.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it makes you feel better.
Well, you know, I understand if if you have a problem with the president, like, yeah, you can't go talk to the president. So, like, I get why you would, like, you know, put something on social media or whatever. But, like, your local mayor, just go talk to the guy first. You know what I mean? Like, he's there. Like, you can go talk to him.
And, you know, there are times that I've seen people put things out on social media, and I tell them, hey, you know, I personally message them and say, hey, that's a good idea. Or I'll say, hey, I'll look into that for you and get back with you.
Yeah.
And they really are very appreciative of just reaching back out. Because a lot of times people do that on social media or other kind of events or just individual conversations because they don't feel like nobody's listening.
Yeah, they don't think anybody would listen.
Nobody cares.
But
well, listen.
You would. That's
I
the thing.
care.
Yeah.
And I try to tell people that, listen, we may not agree. You may come in the office and I may give you my whole presentation and you might say, I still don't like it. At least you knew I made the effort to talk to you.
Yeah, right. You gave him the time.
That's right. So that's why this episode is really about the truth and keyboard warriors, because if we can stop the keyboard warring, and really one other piece about this keyboard warrior thing is if you would like to at least tell us some of the nice things that we're doing in the community. It feels like we only do one bad thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with the 99 good things that we're doing or good things that we're doing.
I will say I see mostly good things. It's mostly good stuff on there.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. So we're actually having a little fun with this episode. But, you know, I wanted to start out with one thing that was really it's really kind of disheartening that it's happening, but it's totally out of the control of the city, is the Youth Football League. So let's talk a couple minutes about that.
Yeah, I did see that when I saw that the mayor wanted to end youth sports in the county.
So I'm thinking youth sports with all of the different free clinics we put on every
you just
Saturday.
hate them. You hate them.
Yeah, I love kids. You know, it's just funny that you hear that. And my first thing is, did you do any research on what we have done in the first 2 years of office, especially when it focuses around family and the kids? You know, the free rides at the City Fair, Bullet Blast, you know, having these clinics at no charge, putting on after-school programs with Field of Grace. So we have a lot of things that we're doing. So when you say something like that, you need to understand two things. And when you listen to this podcast, number one, the property is owned by the school board.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the one over there.
The football league.
Is it Joe B?
Yeah, it's Joe B. Hall. It's the Greater Football League for the youth football. And it is right there. And that property is owned by the school board. Yes, it's in the city of Shepherdsville, but we have no control and no say over that property.
Right. So what's going on with it? I don't have kids in football, so enlighten me.
All right. So the problem right now, there's a lot of concerns about the program itself.
Okay.
The dynamic of the kids that are actually playing in these programs. Parents have different views. Coaches have different views. And so right now is it, do they want to make it a local program, or do they want to allow kids from outside the county to be in it? And then you look at the finances, because I've been to these football games. They are packed.
Yeah.
It's a great venue for the kids. And then you look at the facilities out there. And this is for everybody. If you have not been out there and to see the kind of money that has not been invested, let me say that a second time.
Yeah, I mean, I've drove through there.
It's a pretty rough facility at this point.
Yeah.
We've got some problems with bleachers. And so the school board has its own frustrations not seeing the kind of development that should have with that property. So I get it. So they're not sure what they're going to do. I know they're interested in selling the property. I think that's a truth that people need to know. That also the truth is that we are not buying the property. We weren't intending to buy the property, but we, as a city, I'm going to make sure this is very clear for everybody listening, we will not let a football program fail. Yeah. We don't know what our part is yet. Right. We have to let the two entities work it out. And if they can't come to some agreement, then maybe that's a conversation for the city. You know, obviously a lot of this includes money to purchase the property.
Right.
But it also involves, why is the program like it is right now? And so we got to tell ourselves, let's step back for a minute. Let's figure out what's wrong with it and make sure we understand this is about the kids.
Yeah.
This isn't about the parents.
Yeah, this could be kind of in a way, almost like a blessing in disguise, where you can kind of reevaluate and
I want to see them. I really want to see them take a look at this, because this football program, we moved here 17 years ago, and it was an outstanding program.
Yeah, you used to see all kinds of Walmart used to sell stuff that were like the NFL teams or whatever that were the same mascots as the kids, just because the parents would buy them all the time. I used to,
So you see those kind of things that were part of it. So what happened in all these years? And so I don't have those answers.
Right.
I'm just a spectator at this point, but I do want to make sure people listening to this podcast understand that we will get involved when we need to, when we're told that we need to be. But right now, this is a school board and the entity of that football league to try to work out their differences.
Right.
And then we want to watch it. We want to see what we can do. I've talked to some people, unofficially said that we want to make sure, as mayor of Shepherdsville, I would love to see us make sure that we maintain a good football program. Now, what that is yet, we don't know. Yeah. But I don't need people on Facebook
saying you want to end youth sports.
Yeah, that's
from what I've seen of you, you're a pretty big sports guy, especially youth sports guy.
I think that's important. So again, I don't like it that we are where we're at with this football program, but we'll get there. Hopefully that we'll be able to work out. I can tell you the city is working on a sports complex from a private investment, but we're encouraging.
And they're going to be like baseball fields and stuff in the park and all that stuff. Like, he hates youth sports.
So we refurbished the fields at Roby's too.
I feel like if you weren't the mayor, you would probably run some youth sports league or something. That's probably something.
I do. I really do.
Do you? Okay.
I would do that. So I've coached for years. I coached,
Yeah.
So it's an interesting piece though. But I think the city's going to grow, and we're going to have our programs. Now remember one thing. Let's finish this conversation about this. Is that we did not have t-ball, baseball, and softball.
Right. Yeah.
In the city of Shepherdsville for 5 years.
Right.
5 years.
Yep.
And we brought it back as soon as I became mayor. So yeah. It's about loving kids.
Right, yeah.
So for those
Gaga Ball, no one even knew what Gaga Balls until you were around.
Now I'm a professional.
Right.
I'm in there now with the kids, and I take them down. I don't care if you're just Johnny and you're 7 years old, you're going down.
Yep.
Yeah, so no, I'm kidding.
Also, swimming's a sport, and we can talk about the aquatic center.
Look, you brought the aquatic center.
Well, I
first.
figured it had been about 5 minutes, so it was time.
I'm a little delayed on that, but yes. We have an aquatic center that we're actually going to do things for kids, and we're actually working on the affordability piece now. So we have a foundation doing some good stuff. So a lot of good things going to happen. We got an all-inclusive playground.
And that aquatic center is not going to raise taxes for our grandchildren? I see that all the time.
No, oh, yeah. So everybody needs to know that. Yeah, good point.
I see that one. They're like, oh, it's not going to raise taxes right now, but our children will have to pay the taxes.
Yeah, so everybody know that at this current point, we have enough money to continue to put capital projects in our park, as well as make our loan payment, and make sure we pay everybody to take care of business here in the city.
Right. Yeah.
So, and we have quite a bit of it in our bank.
Also, you talk about like our grandchildren having to pay something. Like That just means that somebody in the future mismanaged the city.
That's
so,
correct.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that could always happen. Like,
Sure.
don't elect those people.
No, and but what I think most people will see is the return of investment is two things for us. One, the smiles. I mean, really, we want something for families to do here. It's a regional impact, though. We're
Yeah.
going to have so much more money coming here and more people wanting to live here.
Yep.
Those are going to be good things that bring a tax base that always will have money.
And it's big for the schools, too.
It is big for schools.
Yeah.
It's the only facility like that in a region area.
Yeah.
So, so we're pretty excited about that. So I want to make sure the people that listen to this podcast in this first section, it is that I do love kids, and it's important for people to understand. I really want to see the football program succeed.
Yeah.
But it's got to be done with adults thinking about the kids.
Right. Yeah.
Because right now I think it's adults and coaches and coaches. And let's get back to the kids. What's best for the kids?
Right.
That's the best advice I can give them. If they can't come to some kind of resolution, we're going to be there to step in and try to help out. So
Yeah.
I want people to know that. But, when you think about that, I also want to talk about another thing that's obviously part of the Keyboard Warriors / Facebook.
Yep.
Is about really drainage. And I think people need to understand, we get it. For years, we've really never addressed the problem.
Yeah. I mean, you're basically fighting nature. So, yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
it's a problem for you, too.
It is. It's a big problem. And so you can think about if you could calculate all the millions of dollars you would have to fix that issue.
Yeah.
And to have it all drained properly. It's hundreds of millions of dollars. But
Really?
it
Wow.
would, if you really try to put it in perspective of just taking like the Blue Lick.
Yeah.
So part of the Blue Lick project for us, and so for those folks that put something else about drainage, let me make sure that you hear on this Facebook page. I'm just kidding. The keyboard
Podcast.
I was just joking. I was going to throw something
okay.
out. I was trying to think of something really
I probably
funny.
will post this on Facebook. So,
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
So what we want people to know, there's phases in the way that this has to happen.
Yeah.
So for us to get that water to Salt River, we got to do the first phase, and that's in the park.
Right.
So if you go over to the park now, you'll see that they've cleared the land off. Even the building that was sitting on where the football field area was.
Yeah.
It's gone. Mm-hmm. So that area, they're going to dig up and put that first leg of the drainage. So that's going to come from 44 to the river. Right?
Oh, okay.
So that's the first leg. Now, the next piece, after we get that done, then we can start building the park plan, right? The playground, amphitheater, restrooms, and all good stuff.
Yeah.
And dog park. Let me throw that in it, too. So when
there's
you
going to be a dog park?
yeah, over there by
okay.
the amphitheater and all that on that side
Oh,
of the
okay.
Frankie Simon
I
side.
don't have a dog, but that's cool.
Oh, it's gonna be, it's gonna be we're hoping to be about 2/3 of a football field.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
we really want it to
Yeah.
be pretty big. And
Yeah,
so
it's pretty good
They got
sized
different
dog park.
activities and stuff that they can do, so it's kind of cool. We've seen some dog parks that we really like that we want to mimic that.
Yeah.
But I think when people see that we get that piece done, so the next critical piece is Blue Lick to 44
Yeah.
between the schools, right? The Bullet Lick Middle School Road. And if you look at that, it's been, I remember back really almost, 10 years ago, we were discussing that, doing studies to try to get that water there.
Yeah.
But as you can tell, nothing's happened in all this time
Yeah.
until we made a discussion about it. So what we're going now to try to figure out the Blue Lick and the drainage issue, we are looking at getting funding to try to do curb and gutter for the road and then bring the water to a T and then two between the schools.
Yeah.
And then go to 44, which is our other connection, and then to the river.
Yeah.
So we hope that all happen between 3 and 4 years from now. Again, it's going to take a little
It's like
time. to get
Legos. You got to connect
You
everything
got to
together.
connect it,
Yeah.
but you got to get that piece done because we're developing the park.
Yeah. Well, and imagine also like, people like to complain about developments and stuff. Imagine how much of a pain it would be if you tried to do it all at the same time. You know what I mean?
It would be a lot.
There would just all the roads would be tore up everywhere. It would be awful. Yeah.
Well, one of the things about that Blue Lick piece that we want people to understand is if we don't get all that funding for that, the city's going to come up with a couple of million to try to actually connect that. We're going to take from the Blue Lick. We can draw that line. We've gotten some studies now just to get that line done. If we can't get the whole big project of about $20 million,
Yeah.
that's what it would cost to do all of that through Blue Lick.
Okay.
But if we can do just the line to get the water to come from Blue Lick and take that water, it's like it rains a half an inch and there's like 2 ponds.
Oh, it's bad. I used to live in Thomas Glen, those apartments over there. So like I knew that area pretty well when it rained. It got pretty wet over there.
Yeah, and so that's the hardest part about this. So people, we've got to make sure they understand that this doesn't happen overnight. It's been years and years of this floodplain and floodway areas of our city, 65% of the city. And so we're taking a serious approach to that. We've only been in office 2 years.
Yeah.
I think for everybody that's a keyboard warrior.
Doing a lot more than has been done.
Yeah.
You know, it's just been that way for, 20, as long as I've been here.
Yeah. I think it's, for me, the biggest part about this is I really do want to encourage people to talk to me.
Yeah.
Come talk to me. If you got something that really concerns you, please do that. But when you put it out on Facebook like that, you're really not looking for a solution. You're looking for some kind of venue to just express your opinion.
Yeah.
And
Post
we know,
grievances.
and everybody's heard me say this. Feelings and opinions, they're nice.
Yeah.
But facts matter.
Or
Facts
looking for
matter.
attention. Someone's looking for attention.
Well,
I
and
feel
that could
like.
be. That
Yeah.
could be. And people want to be funny. I think that's okay too. When you're really funny, sometimes I think it's funny. I laugh with you.
And also sometimes, sometimes if you have some sort of grievance, it's just you want to find somebody else that has the same grievance. You're looking for other people. Misery loves company.
You're looking for that group where people can hang out together.
Yep.
I think they probably got a club started already.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, Misery Club. I don't know. But I think
It's the No Way Jose Club.
The No Way Jose Club. Yeah, that's right. Because we got the Yes Way going on over here.
Yep.
But I do think when you look at those two things, so drainage is a big issue, but we do have a plan in place to really address it. Because Blue Lick is about 20% of our problem.
Yeah,
If
Blue
you
Lick's
look-
bad.
It's a really bad situation.
Blue Lick,
My
and
daughter
then
lives
the
off
Blue
there.
Lick, and then into the where it goes into Buckman. There, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
So we've got opportunities with it. We do have funding because we are growing and we're bringing in tax dollars and some of those evil warehouse dollars.
No,
Yeah.
the greed
Evil.
machine. I
Yeah.
see the greed machine a lot.
It's the green machine.
Yeah.
Well, it's working for us because people need to understand, okay?
Yeah.
All the projects that we are doing, everything we talk about, all the things, we did not raise one tax.
Right, yeah.
We're not raised
Well, you
one
got to
tax.
have infrastructure. You got to have places where
Yeah.
generate money that the tax dollars go to the county or the city or
Oh,
whatever,
yeah.
and then that's what you use to build your county.
That's right.
Or city.
Yeah. In our case, the next piece to go with that drainage is traffic.
Yeah.
We do not have control over 44.
Yeah, it sucks.
Buckton, yeah.
I didn't know that until we started doing this podcast,
Yeah.
and when you told me that, I was like, "What are you supposed to do?" And also, we just did a podcast with the mayor of Mount Washington, and you guys were talking about the fact that to get a road built, it's like minimum 10 years to go through all the process of even being able to start building it, which is crazy to me.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's the process. But,
Yeah,
but
but-
even with that, we're depending on other people to do that for us because it's not our road.
Right. Yeah.
So those two roads, there is talk about the expansion 44, and what they're going to do is just put a middle lane.
middle lane, which
Yeah.
would help because a lot of times you just get stuck. Like if you're trying to turn across traffic there, it just backs everything up, especially around the school, it's a Bullet Central and stuff. It gets very bad over there.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
it gets pretty congested when you get close to 65 quadrant here.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah,
and the Adam Shepard piece too. So for us, for people to know, yes, we understand that traffic is bad, but do understand that some things are out of our control. But I will tell you what's in our control, or at least supporting things we want to do.
Yeah.
We would like that interchange at 119. And I think we mentioned this before on one of the podcasts. We want people to know that we are having
Which one's 119? You're gonna have to
Oh,
explain.
I'm
that.
sorry. The mile marker 119 is where Preston is. Where Preston crosses 65.
Gotcha.
Hey,
Gotcha.
Good, hey, way to do that because somebody else probably going, "What's he talking about?"
you got to use the layman terms, names around.
Well, I'm
me.
shut. If everybody's listening to these podcasts, I just go left, I go right, I go up, I go down.
You start spitting out numbers. I'm like, what number road is that? Yeah.
So it is. It's the mile marker 119 that we would love to see that be an interchange. Now that's excessive number of interchanges in a small area.
Yeah.
But because the way the city was designed 50 and 60 years ago, it was never designed for the growth that was going to happen off the interstate.
Yeah.
So since it didn't do that, we've got to look all creative ways. So the 119 mile marker would be a great place to take traffic off of 44 and Adam Shepard and
that
off
would
of
help.
65.
That would definitely
so
help.
that you can come to there and go north and south on 65, right?
Yeah.
So when people are listening to this, like, oh, the mayor does have a plan.
Yeah, like for the people who live in between Hillview and here,
Absolutely.
that would be
Absolutely.
perfect. So you don't have to go down to Shepherdsville, or
That's right.
you could avoid Hillview if you wanted to.
And
yeah.
there's different traffic studies, but that would be a big thing. Also, there are conversations that are in dialogue, then we're out of dialogue, and I'm not sure where the status is today. But right when you go,
How do you go out of dialogue?
Well, because funding happens to be there, and then when funding gets taken out, you're taking off the conversation.
Yeah.
So, but with 61, which is just when you hit the Salt River going southbound, when you get through downtown Buckman there, and you hit Salt River, from that area there to exit 112, 245, they're going to have to redo Preston Highway. They're going to have to do that section to make it 4 lanes because of the traffic coming through there, the development that's actually going through there.
Oh, so they're going to make it 4 lanes going down towards LJ?
It's been conversation in it, at least to 245. So from Salt River to that, there's a conversation. We've had some. We're still talking about that. Now, whether that means we're just talking to some of our local representatives that work in Frankfort, trying to reach out to the folks that represent us in Washington, D.C., these are critical infrastructures for us.
Yeah.
But I want people to know, while we're talking about these things, we're going to continue to build things for the people that live here.
Right.
Right? The park plan, the aquatic center.
What else are you going to do? Just sit around, do nothing?
Yeah,
and complain about the roads?
And so we know that those are challenges for us.
Yeah.
But we want people to take a look at this kind of this podcast and go, oh, at least they know these issues, and at least they are in dialogue. And what that means when these things can happen, I don't know. But I know that we're going to keep yelling at the top of our lungs that we need better roadways.
Yeah, I don't know why you're not out there with your yellow vest on, just pouring them roads.
I was going to do that.
Get to work.
But it was cold.
Yeah, it is cold.
It was really cold, and I didn't want to get outside. So even when you
concrete costs more when it's cold, I think. They got to add some stuff to it to make it harden.
I think, I don't want to do that.
No, yeah.
I know it might be a nice yellow vest. I mean, I might like that though. But I think those issues are very important to me. When you think about what we're trying to do, traffic and water are obviously big issues to us.
Yeah.
But we have exciting things that we're doing. We are trying to address. We can do more than one thing at one time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And we know that. And I try to be sensitive to people seeing that growth needs to be orchestrated in the right way. But we are so far behind. If you look at the cities around us that have done Mount Washington, E-Town, Bardstown, they've done the kind of things.
E-Town's a big one.
E-Town does a great job down there. And, and the same thing with Mount Washington. They've been working on this 30, 40 years. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? We started 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's going to take
You're doing pretty good for 2 years.
Well, I appreciate that.
Considering it takes 10 years to build a road, apparently. You're doing pretty good for 2 years.
I think we're getting some things done. And I think if people will just continue to listen, keep focusing on what we're doing. When you speculate and put something out there as a keyboard warrior, do you have your facts?
Yeah.
You might be right. There might be something you put on that. But if you're right, why don't you bring it to us?
Yeah, because you'll probably find out there's a reason why you can't do something about it. It's not just that you're not doing it because you don't want to. A lot of times it's like there's regulations, there's different laws and stuff that keep you from doing stuff a lot of times.
It's so interesting when you hear some of these comments out there. And, you listen, everybody needs to understand. Everybody has the right in America for your opinion.
Yeah, of course.
And we don't have to listen. And some things I don't hear or see.
Yeah.
But I think for people that want to say something, please know that we are working on these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, more so than just insinuating that we're just sitting back and letting these things just happen. And
well, like a perfect example was like the railroad tracks. Whenever they were so bad, and everybody knew they were bad. You knew they were bad, but I didn't know this until I talked to you about it. CSX is like soup. You can't just go in there and fix something. They'll get very mad, and they're not exactly the fastest to get there and fix it themselves. So.
I will look good in an orange jumpsuit.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You do not touch their property, and there's a reason for that.
We've had a couple of derailments in the middle of Shepherdsville.
That's right. So they don't want you touching that property. So one of the things, and they did one side. This is the only thing I'm venting now.
Yeah.
On CSX.
Yeah.
CSX did the one side, and just about a quarter of a mile, maybe less than a half mile,
probably.
They could have knocked out the other piece.
Yeah, they'll come back in a couple of years.
They're coming back in June.
Is that what it is?
So yeah,
that's better than a couple of years.
Yeah, it's what we heard. But I mean, you were right in town.
Yeah.
You could have drove over there the next day.
You didn't have the asphalt already on you, and just
could have fixed it. I don't know. It's a business decision, but listen. I'm never trying to criticize. I hope nobody works for CSX that's listening to this and tells them that the mayor was mean to them, because then the next thing you know, they won't come back in June.
If I had to guess, a lot of the people who work for them probably feel the same. They're probably like, yeah, it's dumb.
Well, I mean, for the people that live here, I drive over those railroad tracks too.
Yeah, right.
My car doesn't float over them. I have the same thing. So I have the same frustration. I think it's important if we can understand that we all have the same frustrations. I'm in a position that I ran for a position, so people might say, well, he ran for that position. He knows what he's getting. Well, that's fine. I do. But it's important, I am working on it.
Right, yeah.
You may not like the answers. You may not like the progress. But if you want to criticize the city, please at least know that we're trying.
Yeah. The people who criticize all the time, you should just have a thing where like they get to be mayor for a day and be like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Why is that not fixed yet?
Yeah. So, and that's the easy part, right? Because what is it called? We're the best coaches on Monday.
Yeah.
After football is played on Sunday, man, we have all the best answers. We're the best coaches because I'm as guilty as anybody else.
Yeah.
Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do that? And like, Okay, they get paid millions of dollars. They were probably thinking different things.
Right.
But I think it's the same way here as mayor. I'm listening. I'm having a great time. I'm having a great time doing this job. 2 years. I'm excited what we've done. And for everybody listening to this podcast, you know the old adage, hold my beer?
Yeah.
Hold my beer, because the next 2 years are exciting. You're going to see a lot of ribbon cutting.
The first 2 years were a lot of like having to get all the stuff
designs and
planned
budgets and meetings.
The boring stuff. Now you actually get to start seeing stuff go up.
Yeah, you got to discuss doorknobs and trim and windows. And it's like, ugh. But it's really exciting now, so that you see ground being moved and you see exciting things. So for everybody listening, listen, we're having a little fun with some of the things that are done on social media. I want you to laugh with us about it, because all you can do is that.
Yeah.
If you really are serious about this community, just keep watching. We're doing good things. And, you can always reach out to me. I tell people all the time, there's a number to reach out to City Hall. They'll send you back to me. If I don't answer right away, I get back with you. I answer all my voicemails. I always answer my emails. And even if I don't have a great answer for you, I'm going to say, hey, I'll reach back out to you.
Yeah.
So we have that. So I do think other things that we talked about, the gas line. Let's talk about the gas line.
Yeah, that's a big one. You see a lot of people upset about that.
Well, are they upset about it coming?
I don't know. Well, yeah. A lot of people are upset about, I guess that they think that Bernheim's just never going to be the same or something. I don't know.
Well, so just for everybody listening to this podcast, Bernheim is a beautiful facility.
I love Bernheim.
That it's going to do just fine. My wife has a membership. We love going out there. It's a great place. There's nothing going to hurt.
I was going to say,
Bernheim.
correct me if I'm wrong, but the pipeline is not going through the Bernheim that you go into. And
no.
It's on the other side of the road. They own a big piece of property over there.
That's right. That piece of property was donated to Bernheim.
Right, yeah. My sister, she lives off Cedar Grove, and her property backs up to that property. So it's just woods is what it is. Yeah.
So, and they'll make sure that again, that pipeline, we were the only county that didn't have it. And it's important, not for the business side of it only, but for the residential piece.
And they're putting it through a part that's already cleared off, right?
There is. They are.
Yeah.
From everything that I've gathered, I think we're in pretty good shape. And so it is coming through for people that are concerned. Listen, we all want to keep our beautiful places.
I love the
Bernheim
woods.
is probably one of the nicest places in Kentucky.
Yeah, I love
Bernheim.
It's
beautiful out there.
Yeah, it
and
is.
the Camp Crooked Creek, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah,
out
the
there.
Giants and all that stuff. That's cool. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah,
it's really funny. I didn't know exactly what I thought about the Giants.
Yeah.
But they really turned out
But they bring people in, though, because, it's a cool picture.
Yeah, it is a cool picture.
A cool picture.
So I do want people that, we're sensitive to that. We're putting all kinds of wetlands and some beautiful places in the park that are going to be very conservation, right? And so good places for kids to come through. So we're in the same mind, but we also have to have a balance when it comes to the residential and the folks that live here and what we need to have for them as far as a utility piece.
Yeah. So what's the pipeline for and all that?
So the pipeline's going to go through, but obviously what they did was when they put a hole through it, it actually stopped any more gas production here in the county.
Oh, really?
So they put a moratorium on that. Mm-hmm. So once it gets back up and running, I'd say probably about a year and a half, it'll be available back to everybody that lives here. Because a lot of places that were developed, they put the propane tax.
Yeah.
And now those will go away, and they'll bring their lines to. Because a lot of places that got built brought the gas line to their facilities, but it's obviously doesn't have the product until they actually release the line again.
Okay, yeah.
So it's been a lot of litigation. And I'm sure there's some valuable points on both sides.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people, throwing shade at Jim Beam. Apparently, do they have something to do with it or something?
I'm sure they're the evil one. I mean, Jim Beam did it wrong. If I didn't do it wrong as the mayor of Shepherdsville, it was Jim Beam's fault.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, we just don't. And again, the cynicism of some of this, I do believe that there's probably been some people affected by that. So I don't ever want to ignore that somebody through the progress something happened to them. I get that.
Yeah.
But why can't we at least be realistic that we're trying to minimize those type of things and still live in a civilization that's the 21st century?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember. This was before my time, but where I live, there's a lot of old timers out there and people who are gone, but they a lot of the houses and land got taken by Fort Knox way back in the day. Fort Knox just came through and just took it off,
Yeah, so that's federal government. That's a little different.
Right, but I'm just saying, it's one thing to have a pipeline going through that's going to be underground,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So, eventually it'll just be back to kind of how it is. I get that it's a disturbance, and it probably is affecting somebody's property or something.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's ways to get through that and, make that right with those people and stuff if you can and all that.
There's a balance. We can't be too far for how we treat our environment, but we can't be so protective of it. I don't want to get into the California virus.
No,
Oh, I brought it up,
it's
though.
so yeah,
But it's so sad.
it's so sad and so like it could have been avoided. Like it
could
could
have
be
been
avoided.
avoided.
I mean, obviously you're still gonna have fires, but like it would not
To not have the
been that
water
bad.
supply to be able to contain
Not the
it.
water supply, never cleaning up your forest.
That's right.
Whenever you live in a place that's a desert and you have like 0% humidity a lot.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, and you have high winds all the time, and you know
gotta
there's fires
know.
coming.
You've got to know that environment. So,
Yeah.
and I do think, I don't want. I mean, when you talk about folks that actually are just adamant about our environment, we get it.
Yeah.
we have probably made some mistakes over the years. But
I don't want our forest to burn down. That would be
No.
terrible.
We
Yeah.
like going through. I mean,
Right.
we went through that. We went out west and we saw some beautiful areas in Yellowstone
Yeah.
and Cody, Wyoming, and Jackson Hole. It was great.
Yeah.
So I love those areas. But what we need to do is make sure there's a balance and a good balance.
Yeah.
Even when we talk about developing it here in the city, we talk about the warehouses. We want them to build aesthetically some nice tree lines and have some sidewalks and things like that. We want to start demanding that our developments are a little bit more cohesive with the environment.
Yeah, not just an asphalt field.
No,
Yeah.
because the thing out here is people do need to realize, and we can throw this in here for everybody, not just the keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
You need to understand where we live.
Yeah.
We live 15 minutes from the airport, and we have a major artery in the country running through the middle.
The airport and Louisville. If you look at the interstates,
UPS.
if you look at the interstates from Louisville, it's like a spokes in a wheel that just go
Yeah.
off in every direction. That's why it's a shipping hub.
Yeah.
You got the Ohio River there. I mean, I don't know if they ship as much stuff on the Ohio River as they used to,
They
but
used to
they
have
used
few
to.
barges
Yeah,
go
they
through.
used to be a big thing though back in the day. But yeah, I mean, we live right next to a big shipping hub. Yeah.
So I do think people need to keep that in mind. So I think what I want people to do with this podcast is, if we haven't talked about it, we brought up about five different things, but I would like to see people use the email address. What was that email address again?
YesWayJoseMail@gmail.com.
Look at you. You're going to have this job forever.
It's like scorched into my brain at this point. You just say it and it's just like muscle memory.
Yeah. Well,
I just
we
have to say yes and then the rest comes out.
Well, you know what? They can actually go to the podcast and actually they can respond to some of that stuff. Take it out and send it back to us and say, hey, we like this piece, but can you talk about this next time?
Yeah, I mean, we get emails every once in a while, but we don't get. I would like to get enough to where we could actually do an episode just answering emails.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
All right.
You
So
know,
listen,
just
for
once in a while.
everybody listening, we're going to encourage us, start doing emails, reach out to us. We want to talk about what you want to talk about. We have a venue that we're going to do because we want people to see Shepherdsville as a growing city, having things for family. Remember, I ran on a campaign to improve the quality of life for our families.
Yeah.
And we have hit every mark that we've had to this point. So we're on schedule.
Yeah, you're definitely doing that.
Yeah,
that's something that you're definitely
So
succeeding
we're pretty
at.
excited about that piece. But I think for most people, they need to understand. First of all, I always like to recognize it takes a lot of good people to do that.
Absolutely.
I'm the mayor. I get that, but it takes a lot of good people in so many different areas of our community to make the things happen. And there's a lot of community services too that go in. They're not part of the city operation. So with that said, folks, listen. Yes, it's a little bit picking on some of the keyboard warriors. I'm not going to even tell you that this is what it's about. But I would like to encourage anybody that has any frustration with anything, reach out to City Hall.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can't do something about what you think is wrong. If we can't, I will tell you that. I don't like to make promises I can't keep.
Right.
That's what.
But you'll at least give them what's really
Absolutely.
going on and what the scoop. You know
I
what
don't
mean?
make.
So
I don't make promises.
It's easy to just like when you have a problem, just to like be like, well, it's probably the mayor's fault. He's doing, you know what I mean? Like, but 9 times out of 10, you come and talk to the people who you're mad at, and they're like, well, this is why I can't do the things that you're wanting me to do. So, like, I would rather not, go to jail or get fined or whatever. So,
orange jumpsuit. I can see it. But I do think for most people, if they take that approach, and then what I hope is that if they come and talk to us, and then they get the information, spread that information out.
Right.
Spread more of the things that you know, the facts that you know about this. And like I said, there are most things I can answer. There's probably a couple things confidentially I can't. But for the most part, I should be able to answer 95% of everybody's questions to make sure that they know that they've got the best answer. They're getting it from me.
yeah.
I have the most information in front of me to tell you what's really going on in the city. So with that said, listen, encourage people just to reach out to anybody that you know that might be able to get a hold of me. But I want you to know that we were really working hard every day to make this the best city it can be. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be on fire.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited
Not
about that.
Not a forest fire.
No, not. I know. I'm so excited to say that now. We've had it on the nation. He was like, it's not going to work out too well.
Yeah.
But I do think it's just the enthusiasm, the excitement that the community has. I mean, I really do get a lot. My wife and I get a lot of compliments from people just saying, "Hey, keep up the good work," because it really is about making this community as good as it can be.
Yeah.
And we have the funds to do that.
Right.
And if we understand the nature of the business model, that we can take that money from the industrial piece and move it right back into some of the things like the park plans, aquatic center, and all the things we've talked about for so long, then people are going to be satisfied.
Which is what you're supposed to do.
You're supposed to do.
You know what I mean? That's why you're right. But that's why you have the warehouses there, so you can make that money and use it to improve your community.
And
so the fact that it hasn't been happening that was the problem. You know?
And not raising taxes.
Right. Yeah.
I want to end the conversation with we didn't raise one penny.
Yeah, because there's other way. I mean, look, taxes. I get it. I mean, I don't like taxes, but like I get it that like that's one way that a city makes money. But there's other ways that a city can make money too, not just taxes. So like anytime you see something being built or whatever, it doesn't automatically mean that it's coming out of your tax money.
Sure.
There might be other ways. There might be other economic things that are going on that you don't necessarily know. Yeah, grant money or like
Private
warehouses,
investment,
private investments. So, it's not always just taxes.
Yeah. With that said, hey, great job as a substitute guest.
I do my best.
Yeah. I might bring you back on another episode. What do you think?
All right, yeah, I can do it.
Hey, but you know what we're going to finish up with.
Yeah, I know.
Are you ready?
Yeah, you don't have to tell me.
No, I know. But hey, 1, 2, 3. Love, peace, chicken grease. Hey, thanks for listening, all of you, including the keyboard warriors.